Anybody who prefers to delude themselves can continue to delude themselves, but Tinubu knows, INEC knows, the judiciary knows, and so do a lot of Nigerians, that Tinubu did not win the presidency. He stole it. I said if he won the presidency, I'll leave Nigeria on exile. So let me clear that up. For him to have won, the people would have had to have voted for him. We didn't vote for him. He stole the presidency. Yakubu and INEC sold him the presidency. The presidency is not an expression of the people's will. It is an expression of the debauchery of INEC and the height of our judicial corruption. He did not win the presidency. If I had left, I would have been sanitizing and deodorizing a skunk. If nothing else, I rise and fall by my word. And when I said that I will live on exile if this man won, it was so that people will know that I do not believe Nigerians to be depraved enough to be possessed of the idiocy to vote somebody like him into power. And they did not. Anybody who prefers to delude themselves can continue to delude themselves, but Tinubu knows, INEC knows, the judiciary knows, and so do a lot of Nigerians, that Tinubu did not win the presidency. He stole it. So I'm not leaving because he did not win. It's that simple. That I'm still here is in rebuke of him. It actually cost me a lot more to stay here. It's not just the multiple level of danger that I face on a daily basis by remaining in Nigeria. Because if they will be planning my murder 3 years ago when they were not in power, one of his goons in Lagos State was the one sat at the head of the plot to kill me. They are the ones in power now. Ordinarily, I should run now. But I'm here. I am here because he did not win. He knows it. And every man and his dog in Lagos State knows it. He was beaten resoundingly in Lagos on the 25th of February. He couldn't even make 15% in Lagos. Segun Agbaje, the INEC commissioner in Lagos State, cannot produce the form EC8A for Lagos State up till today. I was the person who was charged by the Obi legal team to collect the election material from INEC. He could not, up until today, INEC in Lagos State cannot give us the form EC8A, which is the polling unit level result. Because they know he lost. He lost woefully. He was thoroughly rejected across the length and breadth of the state that he has held hostage. For 24 years as at that time, he lost. So how much more the other parts of Nigeria? Let them continue fooling themselves. He has snatched it, grabbed it, but he can't run with it. And that's why we are all in the mess that we are in today. So yeah, if he had won, if Nigerians had been foolish enough to have voted for him, I would have left. It wouldn't be because of him. It would be out of protest that I could be stuck with such evil people who would have found the grace to vote for somebody like him. But as I have said, they did not vote for him. They rejected him. He has forced himself on us. And we can't do much about that. But I'm not going to legitimize his stealing by leaving. He didn't win.
The old guys are in power. Cameroon and Nigeria's silent battle between experienced and expired relevance. In Central and West Africa, two neighboring nations stand as mirror reflections of a generational crisis. Cameroon and Nigeria are two countries whose governance is dominated by senior citizens, while the youth make up the overwhelming majority of their populations. What once looked like elderly stewardship anchored on wisdom is now being rebranded by a frustrated citizenry as leadership by biologically expired custodians of yesterday's world. That is what they are experiencing today. Let us first of all look at Cameroon, their own scenario where the nation ages with its leaders. Cameroon has constitutionalized gerontocracy, It is perhaps one of the few nations on the continent where the top seat in government resemble a council of patriots rather than a dynamic state administration. From the presidency to the Senate, the age bracket is dangerously closer to hospital management than state management. For decades, Cameroonians have watched the same old men rule them, recycle themselves, then appoint fellow octogenarians into the most sensitive public offices. The youth only exist as voters, not leaders. Fresh ideas die before they are even articulated because the political class prefers old loyalties to new competence. In some circles in Yaoundé, it is now bitterly joked that to qualify for high office in Cameroon, you must first survive retirement age. Below is the video analysis of the country's leadership team. Let us see how it is being constituted from the presidency down.
Cameroon has been in the news recently with its 92-year-old president Paul Biya winning an eighth term in office, extending his already 43-year rule. The country is effectively a gerontocracy, meaning a state governed by the elderly, which has its pros and cons. At 92 years old, Paul Biya is the world's oldest head of state. Other top officials in the country are in the same age bracket. Let's start with the legislature. The president of the Senate, Marcel Niat Njifenji, is 91 years old. He was born in October 1934. With nearly 6 decades of political experience, Njifenji was elected as president of the Senate in 2013. It's an important role. Apart from performing regular legislative duties, the President of the Senate is constitutionally empowered to become acting president if the country's president dies. He would lead the country to a new presidential election, but he is not eligible to contest in that election. Another top political leader is the President of the National Assembly, Kabaye Yegui Jibril. He is 85 years old. Born in February 1940, Jibril has been the President of the National Assembly since 1992. Now, let's turn to the armed forces. The Chief of Staff of the Cameroon Armed Forces is René Claude Mecca. He was born in February 1939. The 86-year-old officer has been Cameroon's military chief since September 2001. The judiciary in Cameroon is equally managed by the elderly. The president of the Constitutional Court is 84-year-old Atangana Clement. After several decades working in the judiciary in Cameroon and internationally, Atangana Clement was appointed to his current role in 2018. The role of the Constitutional Council includes interpreting the Constitution and overseeing the conduct of elections and validating the results. Atangana Clement was the one who declared Paul Biya the winner of the October 12th presidential elections, allowing him to serve an eighth term. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Cameroon is Daniel Mekobe Sone. The 79-year-old was appointed to this post in 2014. He was born in August 1946. The Minister of Justice is 83-year-old Laurent Esso. Born in August 1942, he took up his current role in 2011. Cameroon's population is about 30 million, and according to the United Nations, those aged 0 to 14 years represent 41% of the population, while those aged 15 to 65 years represent 56%. The relationship between age and leadership has been a subject of global debates. Some analysts say experienced elderly leaders offer wisdom, stability, historical insight, and mentorship. However, critics say the elderly may struggle with adapting to change, technological advancements, and physical demands, potentially hindering their performance and creating intergenerational tensions.
This has fueled a widespread belief that Cameroon is not just ruled by the old, it is held hostage by the old. While in Nigeria, the perfect description is young in speech, old in power. That is what we can best describe Nigerian situation. Nigerian present is slightly different situation, but equally unparadox. Nigerian present is slightly different, but equally worrying paradox. The country celebrates youths loudly in speeches, manifestos, and campaigns, but hands over real power quietly to elders across all arms of government. The Senate is populated by men old enough to be grandfathers to the voters who queued under the sun to elect them. Many governors are either recycled federal politicians or seasoned insiders. The bureaucracy across ministries is dominated by career politicians who see political office as permanent residence, not service. Even when technology and modern governance demand agility and digital administrative thinking, decision making is still filtered through the worldview of men formed politically in the 1970s and 1980s. Nigeria's leadership, like that of Cameroon, is still a closed shop. The baton of power is passed sideways among allies and never downward to a new generation. But the heated debate is, are they leading or holding back the future? The most striking criticism from citizens in both countries is no longer just about age, but about relevance. People are asking, how do you design policies for a 21st century economy with leaders whose worldwide view was cemented before the personal computer was invented? How do you understand youth unemployment when you belong to a generation that got job before graduation? This is what was in the past. Jobs were waiting for them. How do you speak digital when you were trained for a world without internet? Across the streets of Douala, Bamenda, Lagos, and Abuja, young people no longer believe they are merely unrepresented. They believe they are being governed by people who cannot feel their reality. Many citizens now see this generational gap as a democratic fracture rather than a leadership preference. But why are the citizens pushing back now? That is a question that is begging for answers. The complaint is not old age by itself as it is now. Nobody blames a grandfather for being 80. No. The real grievance is governing a 19-year-old population with the reflexes of an 80-year-old ruling class. When leaders lose connection with the area they are governing, governance becomes guesswork. National progress begins to move like a tortoise carrying a mountain when you have those kind of people in leadership. Cameroon's case is more entrenched, while Nigeria's own is more disguised, but the symptoms are they are identical. Age of elite ruling class, deeply entrenched gerontocracy, gradual recycling of aging political class, youth participation is, is nominal. Symbolic reforms are slow or cosmetically commissioned, not implemented. Public trust is eroded or fading fast. Systemic renewal almost impossible and highly resisted when we have those kind of people in leadership. The consideration is between experience and expired relevance. Supporters argue that elders bring stability, wisdom, negotiation, calmness, and institutional memory. But critics counter that. They say it's a wise leadership, that wise leadership should know when to step aside from modernization. That is what they believe. African youth are not simply seeking younger faces. They are seeking the leaders whose mindset belongs to tomorrow, not yesterday. The current system suggests that power is something elders keep for survival, not something that youth inherit by merit. Until this changes, resentment will deepen. And what does the future demand in such circumstances? The political history of both countries has reached a turning point. Africa's demography is too young for its leadership to return this old or remain this old. A nation can borrow money, a nation can borrow aid, borrow machines, but no nation can borrow the future. The youths are the future, and excluding them from governance is equivalent to switching off tomorrow from any given society. The conversation has shifted. This is no longer just about aging. It's not just about the aging leaders. It's not, but it's now about age governance that encompasses policies, institutions, and politics that cannot meet the velocity of today's world. Cameroon's problem is visible in the open, but Nigeria's problem is polished with grammar. Both, however, are ruled by a generation that should be writing memos, not national policies. Until renewal replaces recycling and competence replaces gerontocracy, the continent will keep spinning inside the same cycle of old hands, old ideas, old outcomes, and new frustrations. Do not just stay back and watch. Drop your own opinion in the comment section and subscribe for more analysis. Thank you.